Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Steve Kenyon Podcast. I am Steve Kenyon. Thank you for joining us. Our Classic Equine Featured Interview coming up is with saddle bronc rider Logan Hay, who just won the bronc riding event at the Rodeo in San Antonio, Texas, went to the NFR in 2022. I had a chance to visit with Logan earlier this week. It was a very interesting, really fun conversation. Of course, Logan, the brother of Dawson Hay, national finalist, set a PRCA all-time record in the bronc riding in Pollockville, Alberta, Canada, on the Great Horse Explosive Skies. Won 3 go-rounds in 2022 at the NFR. Like I say, I really enjoyed that conversation, and that's coming up a little bit later on in the show. And, of course, that is brought to you by Classic Equine. Play to win. We are Classic Equine and by Classic Ropes. Today's show is being sponsored by Wrangler. Long Live Cowboys by the Justin Boot Company. The Standard of the West since 1879 by Resistol. We wear it every day. Thank you to our friends at Prefert, to Unbeatable Feeds. Go to unbeatablefeeds.com. Click on the dealer locator link and you can find the closest dealer to you. We are loving the forage only feeds. Get all the details at unbeatablefeeds.com. And by M2 Ranch Jerky. M2 Ranch Jerky's products are just about to your store shelves. It won't be long. You can check it out. Find testimonials from some of the best cowboys you'll watch at pro rodeos across the country this year. M2-ranch.com. M2-ranch.com. Thought I'd spend a little bit of time talking about San Antonio and Tucson today. Cassie Mowry is now the back-to-back champion of the barrel race at the rodeo in San Antonio, Texas, which ended on Saturday night. Cassie last year won it all on her horse, Will. This year, she started on Will, finished on the horse she calls Jarvis. I asked her about it.
I planned on running Will through the entire rodeo. He got in his groove last year. He started out slow last year. He started out slow this year, but by his second and third runs, he won the third round there of my set. So I felt pretty comfortable with staying on him. I came home and he just kind of cramped up after one of my exercises here at the house. And so we didn't feel like he was 100% for my semifinal round. And we kind of threw Jarvis in there. It was nice to have Jarvis kind of ready to go, and he's a really, really good option to back up these horses now. So I was really proud of him to go in there in that semifinal round. He got me second place and got me to the short go, and we just decided to stay on him and take the pressure off Will right now, and thought Jarvis had more to give, and he sure did.
We all speculate a little bit with you because of your very busy training business. You're going to a Futurity this weekend, and then you're headed to Houston for the set that starts on March the 3rd. But we all kind of speculate and wonder, okay, is Cassie going to make the NFR this year? Is she going to force? How much do you focus on going to the national finals? How much do you have to focus on all the horses you have in training? How do you balance all of that?
It's always just, I go to the winter rodeos every year and do the best I can. And really it depends on how I do at those. If I'm going to, try to make the NFR. I do love going out west over the summer. I go for about 3 weeks every year over the 4th and to Calgary. And it's just really how I do then determines if I'm going to make the finals or not. That's about all I can put into it. So that's really, if I just do the best I can with the limited amount of rodeos I can make it to and hope for the best. And if I make the finals, it's just kind of an added bonus for me and a lot of fun.
Right now, Cassie Mowry, number 4 in the WPRA's world standings, over $30,600 for the 2024 rodeo season. Chelsea Moore from Kansas, number 23 in the WPRA right now. She won the rodeo in Tucson, including a time of 17:07, the fastest time of the rodeo. At La Fiesta de los Vaqueros, she finished about 4/100ths of a second ahead of Carly Otero in the 2-head average at the rodeo in Tucson that ended on Sunday afternoon. Chelsea Moore told us about that lightning fast run.
Yeah. I drew up 8th and had to sit back there and listen to world champions and multiple NFR qualifiers like Lisa Lockhart and Emily Beisel fire off some pretty amazing runs. Carly Otero smoked a run. And I thought, boy, I felt like my back was up against the wall and I better throw down a run if I even want a chance to get in the average. And it was a long haul out there, so I wanted to make it count. And thank God for Woodrow.
Yeah. Tell me about Woodrow. And there's a gentleman that is a part of his life that I know you want to talk about a little bit. I see on your name you wrote Trace Sox. That's his registered name, right?
Yes, sir. I almost get emotional talking about him. I love Woodrow so much. His name's Trace Sox. He's by Woodbridge and
Yeah.
out of a Trace Martha Six Moons mare.
Oh, okay.
Tommy Williams raised him. He raises a lot of really nice horses. You'll see his TW brand on Woodrow's hip. Woodrow was orphaned when he was a baby, so Tommy Williams bottle fed him. They had a really tight relationship and bond. Jana Himes has a really good eye and talked Tommy into selling her that horse for the barrel racing. Jana trained him, and I ended up with him.
Chelsea Moore, the champion of the barrel race at La Fiesta de los Vaqueros in Tucson. Dean Thompson won the bareback riding, finished third in the long round on a horse called Bad Influence of the Butler and Sons, and then he rode amped up for 86.5 in the short round to finish in the number 2 spot. He told us that he had a history with that long round horse. Bad Influence wasn't always a very good history.
So Tucson's kind of a funny story for me. I went there on my permit year and got on Bad Influence in the short round. There, I had been college rodeoing and been bustling back and forth between different places and ran there for the short round. And I've never taken a worse beating in my entire life than Tucson Rodeo. And I was like 63 points or something like that on that Bad Influence horse. And then last year, I got checking the stock right before I went over there, and it was the only rodeo I turned out of last year. So I'd actually only been one time because I didn't love my horse last year. And then this year, what a heart stopper to check the draw and see that I drew Bad Influence in Tucson again.
Yeah.
For the long round. And I was like, oh my gosh, dude, you got a chance here to really redeem yourself. And went good in the first round. I was 87 on that horse that really made me look like a fool. So that felt good to get a little revenge.
Yeah. They marked the horse 43. You were 44 on that 87-point ride. Ended up third in the long round. So what was the difference, Dean? Have you improved as a bareback rider over the last couple of years? What was the difference?
Oh, man, it almost seems like it, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. That horse, we had some issues in Colorado Springs again this last year. She kind of smashed me. And going into that one, I knew, this is a horse that can really put a beat down on a guy. And
bareback rider Dean Thompson from Utah. Remember, he was one of those spectacular rookies in 2023, number 6 in the PRCA's world standings right now. Bull rider Chase Doherty was the only man to ride both of his bulls in Tucson. He was consistent, 88 and 88.5. He talked to us about winning Tucson and his plans for 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I rode all right, but I'm really glad I had some good bulls too.
Tell me what your focus is this year. At the age of 25, you qualified for the NFR in 2018, had a great performance, won the Top Gun Award that year. Spent some time in the PBR. You're trying to make the NFR again this year, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My main focus this year is the PRCA and a gold buckle at the end of that. I might still do a little bit of the PBR teams this summer, but we're still kind of playing that by ear.
Do you guys? I don't know how it works in Houston. Do you know what you're getting on at least the first Super Series performance, or have you already got stock? How does that work in Houston with those 3 rodeo performances back to back to back?
I'm not 110% sure. It's been a little bit since I've been to Houston, and when I did go to Houston, I always just kind of, they post the draw behind the buck and chute, so I would always just wait till I got behind the chutes.
Yeah.
Just mainly because it's a big enough rodeo. If they ran in Godzilla, I'd probably get on it just because the money that's added. But, so I'm not 100% sure on that.
Got it. Chase, congratulations on Tucson. I'm really rooting for you. This is an interesting year in the bull riding when you look at, Stetson's out, the reigning world champion Kai Hamilton's out, Sage is concentrating on the PBR. 3 guys that have won the last collection of world titles. there is, I guess if you look at it, you say to yourself, wow, there is, we're gonna learn a lot of new names this year, I think, in the bull riding, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be a really exciting year to watch the bull riding. There's going to be, in my opinion, the door is wide open. Clayton's trying to slam it shut, but
Cowboying is in our blood. Cowboying is in our bruises. It's in our rain-soaked jackets. In our calloused hands, tested by barbed wire and rope. Our mud-stained boots to the crown of our resistol hat. You live out west for even the shortest time, and there's one thing you learn. You can't pretend out here. Resistol. We live it every day.
we're all trying to keep it open.
Bull rider Chase Doherty, the champion of La Fiesta de los Vaqueros in Tucson, and now headed on to the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo in Houston, Texas. We're going to take a time out. When we come back, this week's Classic Equine Featured Interview, Logan Hay, the champion saddle bronc rider in San Antonio, got in a bad wreck. You might remember last year, had a horse go down on him and injured his arm, broke his elbow. He'll tell us about coming back, about his great family, including his dad, Roddy Hay, and about winning San Antonio. That's on the way. Thanks to our friends at Classic Equine and Classic Ropes.
Cowboying is in our blood. Cowboying is in our bruises. It's in our rain-soaked jackets. In our calloused hands, tested by barbed wire and rope. Our mud-stained boots to the crown of our resistol hat. You live out west for even the shortest time, and there's one thing you learn. You can't pretend out here. Resistol. We live it every day.
You're listening to the Steve Kenyon Podcast.
New styles join our time-tested Justin Bent Rail collection. Like the rugged men and women who wear them, these boots stand for quality, integrity, tradition, and hard work. Straight from our legendary El Paso factory, our expert bootmakers build these boots with features that would make even the earliest cowboys proud. Outfit yourself today with a Bent Rail collection by Justin.
Hey y'all, this is Cody Johnson. When I was starting out in music, most every radio station and venue I went to told me no. At that point, you got two options: tuck tail and quit, or buckle down and fight. Well, I'm a fighter, not a quitter. And that's why I wear Wrangler jeans and shirts. Their toughness and style are legendary. They're an iconic symbol of the West, and there's no quit in them either. Life's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And if I'm gonna enjoy the ride, I'm riding in Wrangler. Wrangler, long live cowboys.
Cowboying is in our blood. Cowboying is in our bruises. It's in our rain-soaked jackets. In our calloused hands, tested by barbed wire and rope. Our mud-stained boots to the crown of our resistol hat. You live out west for even the shortest time, and there's one thing you learn. You can't pretend out here. Resistol. We live it every day.
Speaking of our friends at Resistol, tickets for the Resistol Rookie Roundup in Fort Worth, Texas, presented by the Cowboy Channel, going on sale April 26th and 27th of the dates for the rodeo. That's at the Cowtown Coliseum in Fort Worth, Texas. You can get the story on the PRCA's website, prorodeo.com. This week's feature interview is presented by Classic Equine and Classic Ropes. Classic Equine, play to win. We are Classic Equine, Classic Ropes. Success is in your hands. Logan Hay is the oldest son of the national finalist and legend in the bronc riding, Roddy Hay. He and his brother Dawson Hay 2 years ago, you might remember at the NFR, between them, won 4 out of 10 go-rounds. Logan won 3 in a row, rounds 5, 6, and 7. Just won the rodeo in San Antonio, Texas, 87.5 in the championship round, over $20,000. He's healthy after a bad wreck last year in May at the Redding Rodeo, and he joins us on the Steve Kenyon Podcast. Logan, thank you for your time. Congratulations on San Antonio.
Hey, thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
What a rodeo to win, huh? Your first crown in San Antonio. How'd that one feel after that 87.5-point ride on Saturday night?
Yeah, that was crazy. I love going to San Antonio every year. It was it's always been a good rodeo for me. I actually got my first 90 ever there. That was like one of the first big short rounds I ever made on my rookie year. And Yeah, to get the win there is crazy. I remember going there when I was little, watching my dad there, and my Dawson actually won the sheep run one time, and I'll never forget that either. And we just had a lot of great memories there, and to win the bronc run there is pretty cool.
You were 85 to win the first round of your bracket. You were 80 to place in the second round of your bracket, 82 to place in the third round of your bracket. So you had $6,000 coming out of the brackets, and ended up advancing on out of the semifinals. And then you got on Calgary's Tokyo Bubbles 87.5 in the championship round on Saturday night. They do something interesting for you guys in San Antonio. They let you draft your horses for the finals. Was Tokyo Bubbles the horse you wanted to pick? I seem to remember reading something about you were a ways down in the draft order and that horse was still there. Was that your plan?
Yeah, so it's pretty cool in San Antonio. It's just a random draw. It's not based on anything. They're just picking out of a hat, and whatever order you get picked in, you get to go pick a horse, and it's kind of cool. You get to pick one that can kind of suit you a little bit better. It's still, a random draw because no one's it's not a set list or anything. It's not based off money won or anything like that. But I believe I was seventh or eighth pick, and I kind of had made a list of how I would pick them in what order I got drawn. And Tokyo was a little ways down there. I know she's still a great horse. And I mean, that just kind of goes to show how many great horses are in that short round. There's just so many. Every one of them's a TV penner. You're going to see them in the 10th round of the NFR, almost every horse that was bucked there. So you're not going to be upset with any of them. But Tokyo was a ways down there. I had probably 4 or 5 other ones that I had picked ahead of her, but it worked out. I knew she's a great horse. I mean, she's been a great horse for 15 years, and I knew I'd still have a chance with her, but she wasn't my first pick.
Had you ever been on her before?
I did. I got on her in Salinas 2 years ago, 21, and all I actually needed to do on her was get a decent check, and I would have made the NFR in 21, and I messed her up. I didn't ride her very good, and so it was kind of good to get some revenge on her. She didn't cost me the NFR in 21. I did it. She still had a great day, but it was if I had rode her good that day in Salinas, I'd have made the NFR. So it's kind of cool to get some revenge, and she's back in my good books now. Anyway,
just to remind everybody, in 2021, Salinas was like the last big rodeo of the year. That was the year they had Salinas in September, and it was I think they called it the tour finale that year.
It was the tour finale,
yeah. So let me ask you about, you got in that scary wreck last year. Was it Reading or Red Bluff?
Reading.
Yeah, where a horse came over on you. I watched the video of that, Logan, and just, I wasn't sure how you got up from that, or how you would get up from that, to be honest, but you did. You missed the NFR last year. Tell me about the start you're off to in 2024.
Yeah, so that was obviously tough wreck there. It kind of messed up my whole year, really. My arm wasn't healthy all year last year. I come back earlier than I was supposed to, and the doctors wanted me to, but I felt that I was good enough to ride, but I was just struggling. I couldn't ride to my normal style and everything, and so that it wasn't that good. But after come like September, October, it was finally feeling normal again, and I had a really good Canadian finals. I think I won like 40,000 of the Canadian finals. I came from 11th to finish 3rd there. So ever since then, I've kind of felt like I've been back healthy again and riding back to, my full potential that I felt like I was at the end of 2022 there. And, it's just since then I've just been having fun and feeling like myself again, and that I can, ride just as good as I did in the NFR in 22. And that's kind of how I approached this winter. I just wanted to go have fun and, just have fun again, rodeo, not be pushing myself. And, when you're healthy and having fun, that's when I'm always riding the best. And that's how this winter's been going so far. I've been drawing really good too. I can't knock that. That's a big thing in the winter. You can be riding as good as you want, but when there's 50 great bronc riders like there is going right now, you gotta draw the good ones to be able to beat them. And I damn sure have been drawing good, and feel like I'm riding just as good as I ever have as well. And it's definitely, I've got a good start for sure.
I don't want to harp on last year, but remind me about the nature of the injury to your arm last year. What was it?
Yeah, so I had a horse flip on me, and the swells in my saddle landed right on my elbow, and it broke the tip of my elbow off, and then I ruptured my UCL, which is a ligament in your elbow. Pitchers tear it all the time in baseball, and so I had to get the Tommy John surgery, is what it's called, to repair that. And also I had to get, I've got a plate and 6 screws in my elbow. It's the tip of my elbow, actually. My tricep pulled it up halfway up my my top of my arm here, and so I had to pull my elbow down, screw it all in, and it was a bad wreck for sure. But I was pretty blessed. The head of the sports medicine there was also turned out to be an elbow specialist surgeon, and so he seen me that night, looked at my elbow, and I had surgery the next day and was back at the rodeo the very next day, like surgery fixed up and everything. It was pretty crazy. So I'd like to thank all those guys that did that for me, and they helped me out a lot over there.
Do you ride right-handed?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Would it have made any difference if you rode left-handed?
Oh, it would have been a world of difference. Yeah, because I could have got by with my free arm being injured. Like, I mean, it would have sucked to land on it, but I had to wear like a bareback riding brace on my arm, which like restricted the movement in it, and it was incredibly awkward. I'd be thinking about the brace while I'm in the chute instead of thinking about just riding broncs. And you got to be pretty mentally dialed to ride bucking horses. You can't be having any distractions and stuff like that. And so when I was thinking about that and how weird that felt, it just all led together to be a wreck.
Okay, so this might be Steve's dumb question in the interview, Logan. I've talked to bull riders who talk about, the importance of their free arm being as big a deal, if not a bigger deal, than the hand that they actually hang onto the bull rope with. Is that true in the bronc riding too, from a balance point, or is it not?
It is in a balance point, but it's not quite as bad as the bull riding, because the bull riders got to use their free arm a lot. Like, that's where they're making their big moves to stay in the middle, where like we just want to hold ours just to keep our shoulders square. Like, we're not having to get into the well or try and keep elbow down and get. I don't know much about bull riding, but I know for sure I would have I've broke my free arm 4 times, and I'd come back in 6 weeks and I'd be perfectly fine. But this elbow I was all of 6 months before it felt normal again. Yeah. And I think that probably could have been due to the UCL that I tore in it, that them ligaments take a long time to heal. But I know I would have much rather it had been the free arm, because I mean, I wouldn't have even put a brace on it. I could have just taped it and I wouldn't even had to think about it. But okay, that's rodeo, and injuries are going to come with it. So.
Yeah. Here's Steve's other dumb question to the interview, Logan. Talk to me about what's going on in your mind when you come back from an injury. I told you I was going to harp on this, and I'm harping on it.
No, it's all good.
When you're coming back from an injury like that with a horse literally that just lands on you, when you get back on your first couple, do you have to – I'm not sure I'd be brave enough to do it. What's going on in your mind to pull that off?
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. I mean, when a guy gets hurt, like, I mean, I just sat on the couch and I watched, you watch all your buddies doing good, and I had to miss the whole 4th of July run. So, I mean, I watched a lot of rodeos, and, it makes you crave it a lot. You're sitting there just wishing you could be out there. But when it actually comes down to it, and especially this injury, because I came back, the doctors told me that I shouldn't be getting on for 3 months, and I got on in 5 weeks after my surgery, which was a little bit. I probably should have waited and made sure it was healthy, but that was kind of a bit sketchy, because I'm saddling my horse and I was second guessing if my arm's healthy enough, if all this is good. And the first few I come back on actually went pretty good. I got on in Pinoca 5 weeks later, and I was half a second away from winning the long round there. I made a really good ride, and he bucked me off right at the whistle. And And then I took another 2 weeks off because I realized my elbow was not quite ready. And I came back at Calgary, and they run me in one of the hardest horses in Canada. One more reason. That's my one that I get to come back on. And fully healthy guys don't like getting on her. She's a handful, bucks everyone off, and that's what they get to warm me up with. And I was 87, won the round on her in Calgary, and everything was going all right. And that kind of helped me. I came back, I rode one of the rankest horses going in Canada. And so I knew that it was, I could do it, but it still was just, you're still just fighting your head. And, I wasn't riding like I normally did. And then, you start blaming other things like your saddle and everything, but it comes down to you not being as healthy as you can be and second guessing yourself. You can't second guess yourself in bronc riding.
I've said this dozens of times. If I were a doctor dealing with rodeo athletes, if I thought you needed to be out for 3 months, I'd tell you were out for 9, because I know you're going to come back early. I'd double it or triple it or something, because I know you guys are going to come back early. So let me ask you about winning San Antonio from this standpoint. You made the NFR in 2022. And we talked about this before the interview. You had a ginormous month of July, including winning Calgary. How have you done at the winter rodeos through the years? You're getting ready to go to Houston in a few days. How have you done at the winter rodeos through the years?
So I was actually thinking about that before the short round in San Antonio. I've been notorious for having not great winters. In 22 there, I set my goal is to be in the top 15 at the beginning of the year and stay there throughout the year, because I missed the finals in 21 by $1,500, and I kind of stung. Yeah. And so that's what I set my goal as. And I had a decent winter. I broke my ankle in Mercedes in 22 there, and I think I was 14th when I broke it. So and then I came back, and it wasn't long after I come back that I got back into the top 15. So I kind of kept that goal, but I was thinking about that the other day before the short round in San Antonio. I've never won a big rodeo. I've never even placed in the short rounds good at a big winter rodeo. I've had last year, I think, was my best winner, and I won about 35,000 or something before. So I've already having my best winner to my career so far, and I haven't even gone to Austin, Houston, San Angelo, any of them yet. But yeah, no, I've never ever got a big check in a short round in the winter rodeos. I've made a few of the short rounds, but never got a big check, or definitely haven't won one.
Logan right now is number 5 right now in the PRCA's world standings, according to ProRodeo.com. So let me ask you about going forward now. You've got Houston coming up. You will be in the second Super Series in Houston that starts, I think, on Monday. Monday or Sunday, I forget which.
Monday.
Monday.
Third
Super Series in Houston. Yeah, third Super Series. And then after that, you're going to the American. You and your brother Dawson both had really good luck in that Contender Series format that they put together for the American this year.
Yeah. So it's pretty exciting. Me and Dawson both have a chance to ride for $1 million there. Dawson's always had good luck at the American, and I've only ever rode there once. I rode there last year, and I didn't ride very good, so hopefully I can redeem myself. But pretty cool. To get to the American, I mean, we've already had to get on. I've already been on 5 broncs before I even got here, so it's a long road to get there. A lot of things got to fall in the right place for you to go, but it's pretty cool that me and Dawson both got a shot at the $1 million there. So. You
won the regional. Was it Oklahoma or Kentucky that you won the regional?
Kentucky. Yeah, I won Kentucky and Lexington there. Yeah.
And then Dawson won the event, they called it the Contender Playoff Finals, I think.
Finals,
yeah. In Abilene back the second weekend of February. So what are you guys going to do if you split the $1 million? If you both tie with 90s, what are you going to do?
That'd be cool if we split it, but they're going to make us ride off, so that, I don't know, we're going to have to ride off just like Dawson did last year.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Dawson wasn't a ride-off last year.
Oh, I don't know. If either one of us won it, Arlington better watch out that night.
Tell me about it's hard to talk to you guys even today after you and Dawson have established such a great identity and have done so many good things already without the subject of family coming up. There is a third brother who's a pretty good bronc rider too. Your youngest brother is in college right now, and of course your dad, Roddy Hay's a legend. In your family, is saddle bronc riding the dominant conversation at the dinner table on every holiday? I mean, how does this all work in the Hay family?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, everyone wants to know like how when we get back they want to hear about all the stories and everything, and that's shoot, we do talk about it a lot, but sometimes even when we get home it's nice to take a break from rodeo and talk about other stuff, but that doesn't last very long. Even when we're at home where Roddy raises bucking horses, and so whenever we all get home, which is very rare anymore that we're all there at the same time, lots of times we'll go to practice pens and we go check out Roddy's new colts. And the youngest brother, Devin, he's usually getting on them, and he loves when we get to be around there. As he hasn't, he likes to get the tips from us and stuff. Like, yeah, we don't get to watch him ride a lot like we used to anymore, as we're all rodeoing and he's going to school in Casper. So it's definitely the prominent thing that we talk about for sure.
How long's it been? I'm being nosy. How long's it been since you guys were in the practice pen and Rod said, "Oh, good Lord, what are you doing? Here, I'll show you how to do it," and threw a saddle on and got on a horse? I mean, did that ever happen with you guys?
It never did. I really wanted to do that. I would have loved to go on to a rodeo with Roddy, but we got on our first ones. I got on my first ones in 2013, and Roddy didn't get on another bronc after 2010. He broke his leg real bad in Innisfail. But I would have loved to do it because he tells us a lot of pointers, and some of his advice is kind of old school, and he still tells it to us. But I'd like to. Sometimes I wish I could have just been like, "All right, Roddy, you want me to do that? I want to see you do it first. And you think you can ride that one like that? Show me."
Yeah. It's okay. When you say his advice is old school, how much has the bronc riding changed? Are there some noticeable changes in style and technique and anything
for sure,
since 2010?
And even just in the saddles anymore, like our saddles sit a little higher, and so you'll notice we ride a lot more back in our saddles. So like when I say Roddy's advice is old school, he tells us he always went a real short rein, and that's how he liked getting pulled on and having his upper body a little more forward, where even just in our saddles and the horses that we're getting on right now, it doesn't work. We've got to have more rein so that we can stay back, and I think it looks a little more flashy and stuff. They could get away with chopping some horses off, and they had lots of their horses they had were some ducking and diving, real hard to ride stuff, and they had to do stuff like that just to get away and spur them. And their saddles didn't. They actually helped you to be a little bit more sitting up because they pulled down so low compared to ours. But just the styles and even the bucking horses and everything's evolved so much. It's pretty crazy. Roddy, he always says that he says, our hopper pens, or the pen and ice horses at the NFR, is what their TV pen looked like 10, 15 years ago. So everything's evolving, and but Roddy still sometimes likes to throw in that old school advice. He likes it when we go short rein on some of them horses.
Yeah, it's funny because I go back every once in a while, and the Cowboy Channel from time to time will run, old NFRs from the 90s or the 2000s, and you really do see the great horses then. I've always contended would still be the great horses today. You guys
for
just
sure.
have so many more of them.
That's it. Yeah, that's what we talk about too. I mean, there was dang sure 2 or 3 that would fit in with our 2 or 3 best ones, but there's just the amount is way more.
Is there one ride you look back on in your career, Logan, and say, "That's the best ride I've ever made"?
Well, I mean,
you did set a record once upon a time, right?
The world record, definitely. Yeah. I mean, that was one of the best rides of my career, but the very best ride, I honestly think one of my favorite rides is when I won Calgary. I had to go first, and I knew I had to lay it all on the line, and that's one that I felt like I really stomped that one. I didn't mess up at all. My world record ride was real good too, but I mean, it was a fist fight, and there was it could have went either way both the whole time. I could have went down, and in Calgary though, I felt like I was in complete control the whole time, and that was one of my favorite ones, and as well as my first NFR round win too on Larry Culpepper in round 5. I also had to go early, and I knew, in the TV pen that you're going to have to do something pretty special to even think about getting a check. And I think I was third out, and I still won the round there. So that was a pretty cool one for me too.
1 round 5, 1 round 6, and then you were 90 in round 7, if I remember right.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Take me back to the world record ride. You actually got on a great bareback horse, right? In Pollockville?
Well,
Yeah,
so I mean, she's a bronc now. She was the world champion bronc last year, but at that point,
she was a bareback horse.
She was the world champion bareback the year before, and I'd only ever seen her get bucked in the bronc riding 2 other times. Colby Wanchuk got on her 2 years before, so that would have been in 2020. And it was 19 actually, I think, because they didn't have it in 20. And so he got on her there, and she jumped him. It made him look a little silly. She bucked it real hard. And then Zeke had her there the year before in Pollockville, and it was the rankest horse I'd ever seen in real life before. So I knew I had to take her, and it was pretty crazy there. Colby was already 94. He was 94 right before me. He made a really, really outstanding ride on Wild Cherry, and I was pretty pumped up. And it's not a big crowd there, but it's a very intimate crowd. There's probably, I don't even know, 2,000 people there maybe, but the entire buck and shoots is filled up with every bronc rider.
Yeah.
And so I got to go last, and just the build up and everything was crazy. And I knew once I made the whistle on her, I was going to be a lot, and I was 91 in the long round, so I didn't need a huge score, but I still had to be 92 or 3 just to win it. And everybody threw their hats on the back of the chutes, and it was pretty crazy.
95 and a half on Explosive Skies, which is, as Logan said now, an award-winning saddle bronc horse, and was at the time a great bareback horse. Pollockville is interesting. I've never been there, but everybody I've ever talked to about it says basically it is a big open field. There's a town of like 8 people. And they put on this incredible bronc match. I want to go someday.
Yeah, it's you're literally just driving down a dirt road, and then this arena pops up out of nowhere. Like I don't even know what the closest town is. It's a long ways away, and they've just built an incredible bronc riding there. The Calgary Stampede horses, the ranch is right there, and I think that's why them horses are so good there. They're feel like they're right at home. They literally are. I think they're 30 or 40 minutes from the arena there, so they feel like they're at home. And it's kind of something you got to experience in real life, because I watch videos and everything after, and it takes away from actually being there. It's a real small arena, and it's kind of built a little bit uphill, and I don't know, the horses stay tight, and if a horse is going to have his best day, it's going to be in Pollockville.
I have kept Logan way longer than I asked him for, but I do have a couple of final questions for you. I've long had a theory, Logan, and I think you'll probably agree with me. One of the reasons there's so many good saddle bronc riders coming out of Canada, you guys have got a lot of great horses up there. There are great horses in the PRCA on both sides of the border, obviously, but you got a lot of great horses up there.
Oh, for sure, yeah, and even lots like our contractors alone have great horses. Calgary, Outlaw, Wayne Bold, C5, Moxa, like they all got really good bucking horses. But it comes even. We've got a lot of guys that raise bucking horses up there. Like you'll see the Benny Binion sale in Vegas. Half them horses that get sold there come from Canada, and so we've got to get brought up with that. In all of our practice pens, we've got to get on great horses. We've got great pickup men up there, and I found it's a lot easier to go to a good practice pen. You've got NFR bronc riders there helping you out. You've got great pickup men. It's the safest practice pens you can go to, and the environment at them, like shoot. We still go get on at them. Me and Ben went to 2 or 3 this winter, and it's just fun still. I like going to them. It's a great environment. And then, the kids like coming too. I mean, they're seeing all of their, heroes get on right beside them. And, we're helping them. And it was the same thing for us, Leighton Green and Zeke were all getting on when we were starting out. And that's kind of what fired us up. We see them guys go and winning the biggest rodeos of the year, and then they're sitting right beside us, getting on in the practice pen with us. So it kind of fires you up, and that the environment up there, it's pretty cool.
Just to remind you, in 2022, the Hay boys won 40% of the go rounds at the NFR. Dawson won one. I thought he should have maybe set a record on that ride, and you won three. So. You guys had that had to be a lot of fun.
Oh, that was so much fun. Yeah, I went to Australia this year during the NFR, so I was watching the rounds all over there, and it was a completely different time. I think we were watching it at like 1:00 in the afternoon the day after when you guys were actually doing it. But yeah, I was talking to Roddy, and I just asked him how the NFR was, and he said, "Well, it's not near as fun as it was last year." So
I believe it.
But hopefully we'll both go back and get her back dialed in again. Houston,
the American. What else is coming up for you?
I keep my winter run pretty light anymore. I like to just go to the big ones and not. You can bounce around to some other of the smaller rodeos, but everybody's going, and it's hard to. I'd rather save my rodeos for the later in the summertime when you can go to 3 or 4 $10,000 rodeos a weekend instead of driving all over here to get not really anything. So I just stick to the big ones in the wintertime. And so, yeah, I'm just going to go to Houston. I'll go to Houston the 4th, 5th, 6th. I'm in Austin the 19th, and then the American the 9th, and then I'll probably just go home back to Canada after that.
Got it. What is the bronc riders count, Logan?
100. We can go to 100, count 100 a year.
Is that something that you nobody ever talks about it now, but if you've got a whole bunch of rodeos left to use in July, August, September, it can be an advantage, isn't it? Is that something you kind of have in the back of your mind when you're in it?
Like you see lots of people, they'll rodeo their butts off in the fall and in the wintertime, and they get a bit of money won, but there's so much more money to be won in July and August that I'd save my rodeos for then. And I'd like to have, kind of just a pretty easy fall and winter. And then I'm gone the whole summer rodeoing anyway, so I may as well be at a rodeo every day the way I look at it. And so I kind of save them for then. And yeah, if you can save some rodeos that's come September, that's what everybody's worrying about. They're looking at their count. They're trying to figure out what they can enter, what they can't enter. And so I like to have a bit of a surplus then. So if you need it, I can go if I need to make a push, for the bubble run. I have rodeos to do it with then. And if not, then I'm just going to go to the big ones and, just take it easy. Hopefully a guy has it made by then. But yeah. I like to leave myself some room to do that. And being that, having a good winter definitely helps that. If you don't get qualified, if you don't have a good winter, you've got to go to some more rodeos because you need to get your money up to make sure that you keep getting into everything. So having a good winter just sets you up to give yourself a cushion like that anyways.
Yeah. Okay, I promise. Last question. And I want you to have a little fun with this one if you want to. You and I talked beforehand. You are traveling a lot with Ben Anderson, who's been to the NFR a couple of times. Q Taylor, great young bronc rider, Canadian, came to the States, went to college in Casper. And I don't know if I'm missing anybody in that group, but
no, that's it. We were traveling with Kays Thompson too, but he got hurt again, so he's getting surgery. I actually got surgery yesterday. So
before this interview, I asked Logan. I said, to me, Ben would be maybe the biggest practical joker of that bunch, and you kind of disagreed with me a little bit on that.
I mean, he is a practical joker. Me and him will stir each other up, and we'll definitely get some jokes going. And Q is kind of just the innocent bystander. He'll definitely get in on him with us. But if you add me, Ben, and Dawson, if we all three get together, some mischief's going to happen.
Got it. I understand. Logan, congratulations on San Antonio. I literally asked Logan for 5 minutes, and we've gone for half an hour, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Continued success. Good luck in Houston. Go win a bunch at the American.
Hey, thanks, Steve. It's good talking to you.
Logan Hay, the champion of the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo Saddle Bronc riding, joining us on the Steve Kenyon podcast. That's a true story, by the way. I asked Logan for 5 minutes. He gave me 30. And I thought it was just a really interesting interview, and so we decided to share it as this week's featured interview. Brought to you by Classic Equine and by Classic Ropes. Today's show sponsored by Wrangler, by the Justin Boot Company, thanks to the folks at Resist All and Prefer, to M2 Ranch Jerky and Unbeatable Feeds. They're online at unbeatablefeeds.com, where you stand during the Wrangler NFR. You got to think about the Grand View at Las Vegas. You can find them at dailymanagementresorts.com. Next week, we'll talk again about some of the highlights in the world of Western sports, pro rodeo, and beyond. Thanks for joining us for the Steve Kenyon podcast. Please subscribe and like our shows. We would love it if you would join us every week. God bless everybody. I'm Steve Kenyon.